Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another session of Ask Zak with myself, Zak, and my trusted colleague, Sean.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back.
And tonight we're going to dive right into it, and we're looking at how you can set up your poultry house for success. So there are a few things that we want to mention to you, to show you what we look for when it comes to ease of management, decrease of losses, and of course, at the end of the day, you want to make money. So first and foremost, you must determine the size of the house. Now, the size of your house determines how many chickens you can keep reliably inside the house. Now, example is we usually, depending on which area, but thumb rule is we work on 12 chickens per square meter. Now, how do you calculate that? So first of all, you take the width of your house, you measure that. You take the length of the house, you measure that. Let's say, example, your sum is, it comes to 3 meters wide and it's 4 meters long. So we multiply those two, then we get to 12 square meters. So now we want to calculate our stocking density, how many chickens we can keep. Then we take that answer, the 12, and we multiply it by the amount of chickens we can keep per square meter, which is 12. So 12 times 12, if my math serves me right, is about 144 broilers that you can keep in that house reliably. Remember, if you overstock, you're going to run into a lot of problems and headaches and a lot of losses. The main reasons are too much competition. The chickens are going to trample each other. Your ventilation, because of the excretion of the chickens, you're not going to get proper drying of your shavings. And a disease jumps very quickly when animals are so compressed together. So that is just to kick it off. Now, Sean, when we look at a poultry house, especially when we do farm visits, how does good ventilation minimize problems on a poultry farm?
Well, Zak, like you said, it's very key to keep your stocking density in good levels, and that works hand in hand with your ventilation. Ventilation reduces, helps you manage your temperature in your house, and at the same time, it reduces the chance of your house being clogged up with ammonia. The ammonia comes from your chickens, the feces of your chickens. If you do not have enough ventilation, the situation is the ammonia is going to build up, and then they're going to have difficulty breathing, and they will have very, very burned hocks. So what you need to do is manage your ventilation very well. But always remember, just because your temperature is a problem, you're struggling with keeping it warm, doesn't mean you shouldn't open your curtains. Please open your curtains. Without airflow, you're going to run into risks of respiratory diseases, burnt hocks, and even burnt breasts. You don't want your chickens to have burnt breasts because your customers want good quality products. So always remember, ventilation is your friend when you're trying to manage your temperature. Keep it in mind that you must have airflow at all times to make sure that you don't have a musty smell in your house. You can also keep an idea of how it smells by just walking into your house, smelling it. If you can smell it, your chickens have been dealing with it for at least a few hours. So manage it with opening your curtains.
And just to link up with you there, Sean, of course, when you measure off, when you want to smell, go sit on your haunches, sit down at the chicken's level.
Definitely.
Because the air quality differs from here where we're standing up down to where the chicken is. That's just a good way of determining how the air quality is.
Definitely.
Now, Sean, you mentioned ammonia and you mentioned the hocks and everything and the burnt breasts. But is there another way in terms of maybe like the smelling, how you identify ammonia inside your poultry house?
Well, wet wood shavings, when they're wet, if your wood shavings are dark, black and wet, that is a problem. You must walk into your house. As soon as you walk into your house, you need to recognize that your chickens need to play around with their wood shavings. If their wood shavings are all clogged up and you personally, as you walk in, you cannot deal with it, it is a problem. That is one thing that you need to manage. And if it's too hot and your temperature, you can't manage your temperature, use a thermometer. Thermometers are there. I have a product here. I have 2 thermometers. I have a minimum maximum one. This is a non-digital one, and I have a digital one. These things will be your friends. So what you need to do is always remember that you need to put this where you have a proper reading, not where it's easy for you to read, not at your height, but at the chicken's height. Where the chicken's is, we always say at knee length. So always have a thermometer. It gives you an idea, and one of the best things about the thermometers is that it's a minimum maximum temperature. It gives you how far you've gone, either in the minus or in the positive, how hot it was and how cold it was. So this is your friend if you need to pay attention to your temperature management and your ventilation management. And one of the other important things is that the digital thermometer measures the outside temperature also, to help you decide, to help you see if there's something going on in your house. If your house is a draft coming from somewhere, then you have a huge difference between the outside and the inside. Something is going on. So these are the types of things that we need to pay attention to.
And now another thing, of course, you just mentioned it quickly, is the equipment. Now when we talk about equipment, especially when it comes down to the feeders and the drinkers, now guys, this is incredibly important. There's a thumb rule that we work on. We work on 3 feeders for every 100 chickens and about 2 drinkers for every 100 chickens. In the hotter areas, you can even push it up to 3 drinkers. Now the main reason for these quantities are competition amongst your animals. Remember there, if you put in, let's say, 1 feeder for 100 chicks, what's going to happen is the dominant animals are going to keep the weaker animals away, and they're going to feed, and the weaker animals are not going to feed. And the easiest way to see it in a poultry house is uneven growth. You've got large chickens and smaller chickens, and they're all the same age, and that's the main reason is too much competition. So that's why we work on a set amount of equipment when it comes down to your feeders and your drinkers. And of course, very important, you'll see most of our feeders and drinkers are height adjustable. The main reason for that is you want to tie it to your roof, to one of your trusses that's running at the top, because you want to have the chicken eat at its at breast level. You don't want the back to be bent down, or you don't want the chicken to eat up. When you've got the animal's body horizontal like this, then you know your spillages are going to be minimal as well. If you don't have trusses that you can hang those feeders from, use bricks, just lift them up. Any way possible, get those things on the right level and get the right quantities. It's very important. Rather start small and with the correct equipment than trying to go too big and skimping on your equipment and starting to experience losses because your animals are competing too much with each other and getting uneven growth, because you don't want to be there. Now another thing is, Sean, we of course, you've just quickly touched on it, but how are we going to measure the performance, tools that we need to manage our poultry house properly?
Okay. One of the most important points as a poultry farmer, whether you have layers or you have broilers, the most important point to pay attention to your chicken is their weight. You need to recognize where they are. Weight defines where you're going. Your broilers, if they don't grow, that means if they don't grow, that means you're not making any profit. With your layers, if they lose weight, that means you're not going to make profit also. So this is what we need. We need scales. We need scales. You can get a kitchen scale or you can get a hanging scale. The scale helps you define where you are. So without weighing your chickens, you are flying blind. And one of the most other points is that you need a thermometer, like I said earlier. If your house is not if you don't measure thermometer, you don't measure your temperature in your house, you will have difficulties keeping up with your growth. Because if it's cold, they eat a lot, but they don't grow. If it's hot, they don't eat. They just spend time trying to keep cool. And definitely, always make sure that you have ventilation.
So now, very important, of course, with these tools, we've got crucial times that we measure our performance with. Like with our scale, with our broilers, we want to weigh 10% at least once a week, because your growth period is very short, so you need to see where you are. With your layers, you can stretch it to monthly, but depending on their growth phase. The more regularly you do it, the more accurate are you going to be. And of course, with your temperatures, we do it twice a day at least. early morning before you go into the house, so that your minimum maximum thermometer tells you what the coldest temperature was, so that you know what plans you need to make in terms of heating, and of course end of the day, so that you can see what the maximum was, so that you can make a plan with your ventilation. You need to cool them down. So very, very important. Make sure you keep record of this. I think, Sean, you have experienced it a lot. When people come to you well, they're looking for answers. They want to solve their problem, and then they don't have any records.
Yeah, definitely. One very, very important point. There is nothing, if you're a manager, if you're a broiler farmer and a layer farmer, you need to always remember that you're a manager. In your management system, you need record keeping. Without record keeping, we're literally just flying blind. We're flying without a steering wheel. We're flying without what we're looking for. So always keep records. There is no minimum records. You can record to the maximum. Anything and everything that you feel like you need to record, give it, put it in the book. But then always remember, your records need a date. Without a date, they're just a bunch of numbers. So put a date there. Put everything. One has died, write it down. I've given medication, write it down. What kind of medication? I found 3 dead, unfortunately. So you write down, I found 3 dead, I suspect this. And then you write down that I've called Sean to come and see me, and Sean says this. You write down as much as you can, because when I come to you, we need to work together in a way that I need to have my answers, my questions answered in a more relevant way. And then if you don't have the relevant answers, it becomes a little bit difficult for me to help you all the time. So always remember, record keeping is your pocket tool. You need it all the time.
Now, this is a lot of information we share, and in a session like this, we are very limited due to time. But of course, we do give free of charge training days at our depots, where, Sean, you and the team, you guys are busy this week.
Yeah.
Where are you at this week?
This Thursday, we're in Bela, and we're going to have a broiler and information day. Come and join us, but always remember, check us out on Facebook so that you can get our contacts, and call to say, I am coming in, please book me a space. So always remember, please book a space so we can make space, and then we must enjoy ourselves and have more to learn. And then remember, it's not just for your learning, it's also for our learning, because each and every farmer experiences different situations. So come through and join us.
And from my side, of course, myself and Renette will be in Rayton Depot, also a poultry day. So, yeah, as Sean said, come. And that's all that we're here for, to share information. But otherwise, follow us on Facebook, go look at us on Instagram, or just get in contact.
Definitely.
But from my side, have a good evening.
And from my side also, have a good one.